I want you to take a second to just picture this. You're in the arena and you're on your horse who, instead of feeling like your normal partner, feels like a completely wound up spring just waiting to explode. To your right, a tarp flaps in the wind and suddenly, boom, your horse flies to the left, slamming your legs into the rail, and it hurts like hell. Your heart jumps into your throat as you're yelling, "What the hell is wrong with you?" The training session is shot. Both of you are frustrated, maybe even hurt, physically, emotionally, or both. Does that sound familiar? Maybe your version doesn't involve a tarp, but I bet you've had a moment that your emotions have just skyrocketed and you couldn't come back down. I've been there too, but here's the kicker. The problem isn't the tarp. If you're new here, hello, welcome. My name is Shay, also known as the emotional equestrian over here at Wild Lily Horsemanship. Here, we embrace emotional awareness and equestrian strength, diving into Mustang training, connection, and the powerful bond between horse and rider. I guide fellow equestrians in building deep, mindful relationships with their horses, grounded in emotional understanding and strength. Now, I set up this scenario for you in the beginning of this video to set kind of a premise when it comes to talking about high stakes emotions involved in horse training. And I can almost guarantee that every single time that these high stake emotions happen, it's because of one emotion, and that's fear. Hell, we are dealing with 1,000+ pound animals and we're doing it for funsies. So it's understandable to have a little bit of fear behind that. This is something that took me the longest time to figure out, and it honestly didn't register until like a couple of months ago. I've been riding and training horses for 20+ some years, and it's a little bit of a struggle to just now realize how fear is the basis of every single high stakes emotion. And when I say fear, I have a couple of different fears in mind, so bear with me, but we're gonna get into them. Number one is probably the most guessed, would be the fear of danger. It's self-preservation. Again, we're dealing with 1,000-pound+ animals. These are huge animals. It's understandable to be a little bit afraid. And it's really hard to be the calm and collected rider when you just don't trust what your horse is going to do. In those moments, like I mentioned before, of a tarp flapping in the wind, we feel our horse start to tense up and our body reacts to that. We start to build up this fear, this self-preservation, trying to keep ourselves safe. When I was a kid, I was like a fearless rider. I did all sorts of stupid things that probably would have gotten me very hurt in the age I am now. And becoming a parent has drastically changed all of that for me. I'm a lot more fearful of the things that can happen because I have a little kid at home that I have to take care of, I have to be available for. So I feel like my self-preservation has just increased over the years. Another fear I want to talk about is past trauma. A horse that I trained for a little bit was just a ball of nerves, and I have never felt more nervous around a horse because I just didn't know how he was going to respond to things. I didn't know if he was going to blow his top. I didn't know if he was completely shut down. I didn't know what he was going to do. There was no sort of expectation. At one point, he took off with me in the saddle. I came off backwards and landed in a way that I wasn't totally sure my body was going to completely recover from. Because of that moment, it festered into every single ride after that. And it began festering with my horses. It got to a point that even with Sage, who was 20 years old, and I still was terrified to get on her, which is like dumb in my eyes because again, she was the horse that I did all sorts of dumb things with. But because of this one instance, this one time of coming off and landing wrong, I then had internalized this trauma that continued to come up in moments of fear. In those moments of fear, my emotions just started spiking. Another thing to think about is that there are plenty of riders that are totally fine when they get onto the majority of horses, but they get on this one horse that caused them problems and it makes them nervous. I've seen it so many times. I've felt that myself. It's not an easy thing to work through. There's a great book called Body Keeps the Score that I think is very, very helpful when it comes to horse training and understanding how our mind responds to trauma. Because it's not just about your brain at that point. Your body reacts to the trauma. And so coming back onto a horse that you came off of, your body's naturally going to respond in a certain way. And it's our job as the riders to try to figure out how to work past that and become back into that relaxed, calm, collected state. The third fear that I have is the fear of comparison. And this one can affect us in a multitude of ways. This can be something as simple as the level that we're at, the level that we're riding at. We're comparing ourselves to other people and the level that they ride. We compare ourselves in the level of care that we can provide our horses. Some people are able to provide chiropractic care, laser therapy, hydrotherapy every week. And that's just not feasible for every single owner to offer. So sometimes we then think about the comparison of, am I doing enough when it comes to the care of my horses? Sometimes it even comes down to the fear of comparison festering in just our horse's behavior. I see this a lot in Mustang challenges, specifically right now when the first Teens in Oregon Mustang Challenge is happening. I'm seeing a lot of people that are comparing themselves as to where their horses have started versus this horse is now already being ridden. They're a week into the challenge now. They've had their horses for about a week. Some people are doing first rides. Some people have already gotten the horses' feet done. Some people have the dewormer done. There are other people that can barely get their hands on their horses, and it's very, very hard to watch the people that are behind, that feel behind. It's very, very hard to watch some of these people that feel behind because you can see that frustration and that fear of being lost with everyone else, it's starting to fester in their training, and it affects how their horse is reacting in the now. Next, I have the fear of judgment. And this is something that is obviously very prevalent on social media, but it's also just the horse world in general. I mean, hell, we love to be judged at shows. But people love to complain, and there are plenty of negative Nancys out there. Some cases have some validity, and I say that more in the aspect of equine welfare and people having the best intentions, but I still believe that through that judgment, everyone should still be kind and professional. Sometimes that's not the case. A lot of times people are judging a specific method of training or even just your equitation because, God forbid, my heels are not down for 2 seconds. The big thing is to just not worry about what the couch jockeys in New York that don't even ride are talking about when you're doing a Mustang challenge in Oregon and you don't even know who they are. The last fear that I have listed is probably my biggest issue. It's the fear of the fear of perfectionism. Perfectionism for myself, because I don't like my equitation. I literally pulled out clips from the last vlog of Penny and I because I did not like how I was riding. Also, perfectionism for my horse, picking battles that I don't need to be picking. Does your horse really need to be that little bit more collected, or could you reward for a little bit more of an effort? And lastly, being perfect for the sake of others, going back to judgment and comparison. My biggest issue is constantly going to be the need to be perfect. Now, what do we do when things are going absolutely haywire? Firstly, let's look at the environment. What's going on? Is there different sights and sounds? Are there things flapping around like a tarp? Are there other horses that are just a little bit over the edge today? It's really important to try to look at what else is going on in the situation to figure out why your horse is behaving the way they are. Let's say the horse is overall fairly normal, just not responding to the cues the way you want them to be, and you can feel that frustration just starting to bubble. In that moment, identify the fear. A fear of past trauma, identify the situation. Is there something different going on, or is there a little bit of irrational fear starting to come up to the surface? Is it the fear of perfectionism? Look for those small tries. Instead of the overall correct, find those little things that your horse is doing right. Is it the fear of comparison? At that point, go out on the trail. Go have a good time away from everyone else. By the way, you can still work on skills out on a trail. Let me tell you the amount of times I've been working on side passing and leg yielding out on a trail ride, just because it's a different environment, can be insanely beneficial for not just you in getting away from other people, but also for your horse. Fear of judgment? Shut off the damn socials for a little bit. For those of you that have seen Wreck-It Ralph 2, like me, because I have a toddler at home, he's literally told not to read the comments. As much as we would love to control what other people say, we can only control our reactions. And sometimes a reaction of not reading the comments is enough. Now you've identified this fear. You can feel where it's coming from. You know where it's coming from. What do you do? Well, the first thing I like to do is just get off and start walking. It's been proven that walking can greatly reduce stress. It helps release those endorphins. So I find that getting off and just walking with my horse, not worrying about what they're doing, can get me to kind of reset everything that I've been thinking. You could even take that trail ride idea and just head out on a walk with your horse. Let all those endorphins get released, de-stress a little bit, and then go back to what you're doing. Now, breath work. There's so many different types of breath work. I prefer the 4-7-8 method. Inhale through the nose for 4 seconds, hold for 7 seconds, exhale through the mouth for 8 seconds. I feel like I really like this one because of the extended amount of time of holding your breath and exhaling. Gives you a second to focus on something as simple as a bodily function for just a few seconds. That's it, to ground yourself back into the moment and then go back and think about what was going on. This is one that I utilize when I'm frustrated with training, but it's also one I utilize with parenting because Lord knows I get overstimulated with a 3-year-old. It's something that is simple, powerful, and incredibly grounding when you're losing your ever-loving mind. And as crazy as this might sound, sometimes I just talk to myself. I talk to my horses a lot when it comes to training. It's something that keeps me chill, keeps me grounded, and so I feel like talking to myself isn't all that different, and it can help me identify those emotions and those fears a lot faster. Now, once you're done with this training session, we're not quite done with ourselves. Journaling has very quickly become kind of a favorite habit of mine, and I used to hate it. I thought I was just rehashing my day with the same boring stuff over and over. But I stopped trying to write a narrative and started asking myself questions. There are 3 questions that I ask myself after I've been in this high emotional state. What was I afraid of? Where did the fear come from? And how would I respond to my friend if they were in the same situation? Taking the time to reflect after my rides, especially after asking those 3 questions, really helps to identify those emotional triggers a lot faster. And the sooner that I can name those feelings, the sooner I can give myself and my horse a lot more grace. We've all felt these feelings at some point in the horse world, whether it's from social media or from the backs of our horses, but the important thing is that we talk about it. So many people choose to blatantly ignore these emotional outbursts or continue to fester in the guilt of your actions because of your emotions. But when we open the conversation, something shifts. You start to realize we're not alone. So many of us have felt those feelings, and by opening the conversation, we start to learn how to overcome it. If you like this video, maybe go check out one of my last ones. It's a vlog about my Mustang Penny, who is officially under saddle and doing so well. And in the comments down below, I'd love to hear from you. Has there ever been a moment that you felt overwhelmed in riding or training, and how did you come back to center? Don't forget to like, subscribe, ding that notification bell, do all the things, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye guys.